Good morning and welcome. Today is October 10th, 2023. I'll call our Board of County Commissioners meeting to order. We have a small but impactful agenda for today. We will begin with an invocation by Pastor Aaron Meehan from the Higher Purpose Pentecostal Church, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance, which will be led by Mr. Robbie Monroe, a Combat Army veteran. If you would all please stand. Pastor, good morning.
Thank you so much. Thank you for, again, this opportunity to come and pray over this meeting and offer this invocation. Such an honor to be here. At the end of October, our church is celebrating 10 years in Martin County. My wife and I came with just a couple dollars in our pockets and a lot of prayers. But this community has so embraced us. This county and this city has been such a blessing to us. So I want to offer to you thank you. And I appreciate all the work that you do and everything that this wonderful board has done to support churches, small businesses, and the like. That today in my prayer, I'm going to pray specifically for this meeting, that God would bless this meeting. I see we got many exciting things to do today, and I'm sure business as well. I'm also going to pray for the peace of God over our community. As we know, a lot is going on in the world today, and it affects even the local hearts and minds of our citizens. So we're just going to pray for peace today over this meeting and over our citizens. If you could bow your heads. Lord, we thank you for this opportunity to come together, to gather, to improve our community and our county. We pray in Jesus' name that you would bless this meeting, allow there to be peace in this place, for you are said to be the Prince of Peace. So we pray that you would touch the hearts and minds of all who are here today. Touch the hearts and minds of our city and our county, that, Lord Jesus, we'd be able to trust that you have a plan and that you are in control. Bless everything that goes on today, every speaker, Lord God, every decision, the honor that's going out to these certain individuals. We pray that you would bless it. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
Thank you.
Good morning.
Good morning. Thank you for having me. If everybody'd like to do the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Mr. Monroe, thank you so much for coming, honoring us this morning. It is sort of our way that we'd give you an opportunity to share a little bit about your illustrious background.
Yes, sir. I went in the Army September 9th, 2001. I was in reception of basic training when 9/11 happened. We weren't allowed to see TV or anything like that, so it wasn't until after I got out of the Army I watched documentaries and saw what actually happened. Once I was done with basic training, my first duty assignment was Korea, where I spent a year at Camp Humphreys. Once I got back to the United States after my year there, I got stationed at Fort Carson, which is in Colorado Springs, where I was attached to 3rd Armored Cavalry Regiment. I deployed to Iraq twice with them. I was in Operation Iraqi Freedom 1 and 3. It was some of the craziest, wildest times of my life. But it was an honor to serve my country. I love it. I would have done it again 100 times over. And thank you all for having me here and listening to my story.
Thank you, sir. Okay. Thank you. Let me tell you about the agenda. We have one additional item. Consent number 7, adopt a proclamation declaring Mobility Week in Martin County, Florida. There are no consent polls. We have a couple of proclamations that we will take up before public comment in just a moment. Commissioner Smith.
Mr. Chairman, thank you. I move approval of the agenda with the additional item of consent number 7, with no consent polls.
Thank you.
Second.
Thank you. We have a motion by Commissioner Smith, seconded by Commissioner Heatherington. All those in favor? Aye. All those opposed? That motion carries unanimously. We have a couple of proclamations. We'll start this morning, before we get into the public proclamations, with more of a private celebration to present a plaque in recognition and appreciation to Miss Jennifer Manning upon the occasion of her retirement from service with the Martin County Board of County Commissioners. A couple of different people will make the presentation. Well-deserved presentation. Mr. Graham, you are recognized.
Yes, good morning, Commissioners. Matt Graham, Assistant County Administrator. Joining with me is Stephanie Murley. I am here to present a plaque of recognition and appreciation to Jennifer Manning upon the occasion of her retirement. Ms. Manning has been a county employee for 34 years, a journey that began as an account specialist in our utilities department in 1989, and saw her rise to the esteemed role of the director of the OMB division in 2018. That's our Office of Management and Budget Division. Ms. Manning is an extraordinary and dedicated budget professional and will be deeply missed. Ms. Manning's journey with us has been one of dedication, growth, and inspiring leadership. Her story is a testament to the power of hard work, resilience, and the pursuit of excellence. From her early days in the utilities department, where she began as an account specialist in 1989, her diligence and commitment shone brightly to her time navigating a series of demanding budgeting positions across the county. Ms. Manning consistently demonstrated her unwavering dedication to her craft. In 2018, Ms. Manning's journey reached a pinnacle as she assumed the role of OMB Director. Under her guidance, OMB transformed into a center of strategic financial management, innovation, and collaboration. Her visionary leadership and analytical acumen reshaped the way we approach budgeting, setting new standards for efficiency and effectiveness. Ms. Manning's impact extended beyond her professional achievements. She has been a mentor, a collaborator, a source of inspiration to her colleagues. Her willingness to share her knowledge, guide her peers, and foster a sense of unity has left an indelible mark on our organizational culture. Ms. Manning has successfully trained and prepared her staff to succeed her into her retirement. On behalf of the Board of County Commissioners, the Administration Department, the OMB Division, and the entire county, it is with great honor that we present you with this plaque in recognition and appreciation of your dedicated service to the county as you retire.
Woo-hoo.
Oh, okay. Those are very nice words, and I appreciate it. And it's 34 years and 10 months today. I wanted to be exact, but it has been an incredible journey, and you know, the best thing about it was more positive than negative. So, which is the positive outweighed the negative experiences. I have grown with the county quite a bit. I've had my family with the county, and you know, it's been great. So I have no complaints. And one thing I wanted to first say thank you to the commissioners for, you know, taking care of me and making me feel welcome at all times. I also wanted to thank my previous administrator, Taryn Krizia, and my current administrator, Don Donaldson, because they've been excellent and they've been an impact in my life as well. I also want to thank my coworkers because of their intelligence and teamwork. And, you know, when you talked about changing the way we do things, we have a lot of talent in my department. And I really appreciate all my coworkers, whether it's in my department or outside of my department. But most of all, I would like to thank God, as well as my husband of 43 years, but he couldn't be here today because he had a service call. Yeah, but anyway, he also worked for the county, and that was for 30 years. So I would like to thank him as well as my family, my wonderful family. I have my two boys here, well, men, that also work for the county, and they are somewhere around there. And It's great having them by my side all the time and close to me. So, I am appreciative of all the things that, has been happening in my life and in the county and my family county life as well. So thank you for all your well wishes.
Thank you. Ms. Murley?
Yes, I have a couple things to say, so if I go missing later, everybody knows.
Where to start to look?
So Jennifer hired me 12 years ago, and in that time, she shared valuable institutional knowledge, has ingrained debt-slaying techniques, and has provided mentorship to the OMB team that resonates in the work that our department does every day. Jennifer has always been willing to accept that there may be different ways of coming to a solution, but if a solution involves an Excel pivot table, to her, that'll be the only right way. With an uncanny knack for inserting relevant metaphors into any situation, we will miss the camaraderie and humor that Jennifer brings, her tough love and support in our challenges, and her ability to recall an obscure dollar amount budgeted back in fiscal year 2014. Jennifer is leaving a formidable legacy that will be hard to follow, so I request from her the following with utmost sincerity. Without a fully documented recipe for brown stew and curry chicken, our Thanksgiving potlucks will never reach their full potential.
Truth.
It's true.
It's true.
That's all I have.
Thank you very much.
You will go missing, thank you.
Commissioner
Get the
Smith?
recipe before you.
I know.
Commissioner Smith?
She actually stole part of what I was going to say. Jennifer's department is one of those departments that could go unseen, actually. It's kind of one of those very quiet little places over there. But if you ever had to have a department, if you ever had to have a group of people, a team that kept this place intact, it would be over there. And we expect everything to always be perfect in this building, and we expect incredible performance, and it never shines any clearer than on budget night when we're doing budget. And this crazy board up here, I'll speak for myself, we deliver changes to the budget, we ask for miracles, and within minutes, the team shows back up under Jennifer's leadership and comes back with exactly what we asked for, and it's accurate and it's precise, and you couldn't want and ask for anything better than that out of any county employee, but certainly out of any county department. And so, Jennifer, thank you for all the years I've got to work with you. Thank you for always having the numbers for me when I needed them. And additionally, I don't know if you'd ever, well, she says there is no recipe for the curry.
That's what she says.
But if you love curry, you need to show up around Thanksgiving time because it is absolutely the best curry in the world. And so hopefully you'll show back up and you'll bring a little taste of curry with you when you come.
I'll have time on my hands, of course.
Commissioner Hurd?
Yeah, our budget is big. And if there's any department where you want the leaders to be accurate and to know the minutia, it's our budgeting department. And I've gone to Jennifer so many times asking for the most arcane pieces of financial information. And if Jennifer doesn't have it on the tip of her tongue, it's at the tip of her finger. She knows everything there is to know about the most obscure parts of our budget. She's wonderful, and you're going to be missed so much. Thank you so much.
Okay, motion to deny the retirement.
Or motion just to make sure that curry is provided. Every
I second that.
Jennifer, may I just add that, quite often the hardest work that looks easy is done by professionals. You have been a remarkable leader of your team. As Doug said, you craft a budget for months and months and months. You have it worked out. Yeah, you're hearing familiar voices. I'm going to bring them forward in a minute. You craft a budget with your team, and then you come to this room, and we pull it apart and ask you to redo it with half an hour's notice, and you always have. We didn't mention that your department and you are multiple award-winning for your talents. The county is as great as it is because of your efforts over the last 3 decades. We will miss you, but we thank you so much for your service to our community. And we'll end with Mr. Donaldson.
Yes, well, Jennifer, we started working together, I think back when it was engineering or public services department, and she still is. And from that time till today, she's always been assisting the county in solving problems. I think that's, our budget is complicated, and what complicates government budgeting too is the fact that not all money can be spent the same way. We don't have one big pot of money. We have lots of little pots with lots of rules. And we are a fiscally conservative county, and Jennifer is a fiscal hawk, actually. If you think they are quiet, actually, it can be quite noisy over there. I've seen Kevin Abate screaming out of there a few times.
Yeah, but that's not the department.
No, that's but I think there's no better testament than the last few years where we've been freeing up reoccurring funds by paying off debt, finding ways to secure those things so that we can provide the least impact to our taxpayers as we move forward. And when you all give us direction, and Jennifer knows what we're trying to achieve, she looks out for it all year long with her staff. And I think that's also a great testament to you all allowing us to work with folks from within. It's that years of experience working with Taryn and her great problem-solving ability, and she's continued to bring that to the rest of her staff. So thank you so much, Jennifer, for all you've done for us over the years.
Now, Jennifer, let's do this. Let's have everyone meet the reason you're going to have a beautiful retirement. I saw some adorable little beautiful children come in. Why don't you have your family come up? We'll pose for a picture, and then we'll...
Yes.
Here they are. She's like, no.
Yes.
Maybe not such a good idea this morning.
They are scary.
That was spoken by our former county administrator. We don't want you to retire, but that's a good reason to.
My husband will lose his job.
Well, no, you can have one. Can have one of the kids superimpose him in.
Jennifer's husband takes care of those twins twice a week by himself.
Jennifer, God bless you and enjoy the well-earned days of not being here. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Okay, if you're a county employee, now's the time to depart. Oh, I love him. He's great. He is? John Garwood?
Yeah. I keep forgetting to tell you when I saw him on the agenda.
Yeah.
Your turn now?
Yeah, end on a high note. We have two proclamations that will be presented by Ms. Martha Ann. Disability Employment Awareness Month.
October 2023 is National Disability Awareness Month, and its purpose is to educate about disability employment issues and celebrate the many and varied contributions of America's workers with disabilities. The board urges all citizens to recognize this month by bringing together businesses and partners to break down the barriers faced by individuals with disabilities who are working or seeking employment, dedicating ourselves to the task of improving the quality of life for all. And today we have President and CEO of Helping People Succeed, Ms. Susie Hutchison. Wouldn't miss it for the world. She's done this a couple times.
Good morning, and thank you very much. Susie Hutchison, Helping People Succeed. I've talked to you many times. I feel like maybe we're seeing too much of each other some of the time, but I love being here at the county. I'd like to just say, too, that Jennifer was wonderful to work with from the not-for-profit side. I would call her and say, how do we get this through? how do we do this? And she would say, I don't have a clue. No, she didn't say that, but she was a lot of help to all of us. So today, I just want to kind of thank you all for all that you do to help with disability employment, but also to remind everyone that disability really is a different ability. When you look at the world, we're all different. I couldn't do the things that you do, and I also wanted to be a famous dancer. Just didn't happen, you know, but I'm very happy where I am. So as we look for employees today, which is still very difficult in many cases, I really urge everyone to look at a person who has an ability, but look at them as having someone with a different ability. During this time, it still makes so much sense. So I want to just take a minute and read to you the number of businesses in Martin County. This is not all of them, but most of them, who have at least one person working for them. I'll start with the Martin County Clerk of the Court. We've had a gentleman named James Foster there for probably 50, I don't even know how long now, who has his own office and wears a suit and does great work for you all, for the county. The Martin County Schools, we have numerous people. Publix, which is our most visible place where people work. Winn-Dixie, Home Depot, Bonefish, TJ Maxx, Cleveland Clinic, Wendy's, Dunkin' Donuts, Bear Furniture, Outback Steakhouse, Willoughby Golf Course, Cracker Barrel, Children's Museum of the Treasure Coast, New England Fish Market, Harborage Yacht Club, Bell's Outlet, and the Pine School. What I'd like for you to realize in that number of businesses is the diversity in the businesses. It's not just one job that we can do. There are many jobs that we can do. Again, we're looking at the ability of the person. So I'd like to thank you. I'd like to thank you for the budget that you approved, which will allow us to continue to help people with disabilities find and keep jobs. I'd like to thank you for the ARPA dollars that we'll make a presentation on that help people that had different abilities, not necessarily disability, find jobs. And I also want to thank you for not just recognizing us, but also Safe Space and Volunteers in Medicine, two organizations that we use all the time and are critical to our ability to help people succeed. So thank you very much. We appreciate the work that you do, and we're very happy to be a part of it.
Hey, Susie, can you come back up for a sec? Mr. Chair, do you mind if I ask just a few questions?
I will allow it.
Thank you. How long you been doing this?
Oh,
Since
gosh.
Tri-County Tech?
I was hired in 1975 as the executive secretary and took over the role as CEO in 1977. So I'm probably half dinosaur and half still really working hard at what I do. So I've been around a long time.
And on average, or generally speaking, how many clients do you have working with you?
In our whole area, not just Martin County, around 8,000. Some of those are on a one-time visit. Probably about 2,500 is a one-time visit, unless they need other help. And then the rest is in both our children's area. We work a lot with folks with autism. We have an incredible program that is helping young adults with high-functioning autism who our IT person said were smarter than him, but didn't have the social skills or the ability to interact. So we do that. And then, of course, employment is what we are so very, very proud of.
Fantastic. Thank you very much.
Thank you for making me very old.
Yeah, but you were 15 when you started. Why?
Yeah, well, not exactly. But thank you. And again, thank you all. But thanks, Doug.
Our next proclamation is declaring Domestic Violence Awareness Month in Martin County, Florida.
Domestic violence transcends all ethnic, racial, and socioeconomic boundaries. And each year in the United States, more than 10 million women and men experience physical abuse by their intimate partners, with many experiencing repeat abuse. During October, in recognition of Domestic Violence Awareness Month, the board urges all citizens to actively participate in the scheduled activities and programs sponsored by Safe Space, Inc., and to work toward the elimination of personal and institutional violence against adults and children. Today we have Jennifer Fox, Safe Space CEO.
And her team, if you want to bring your team up.
Hmm?
Team. Thank you so much. Congratulations. Say a few words.
Good morning. So as you know, I'm Jennifer Fox, the new CEO at Safe Space. I've been in this position for about 3 months, so I'm really looking forward to getting to know everybody and being able to work with the community. On behalf of Safe Space, I do want to thank you for recognizing October as Domestic Violence Awareness Month. This month especially, our team is working really hard to ensure that our community does recognize that domestic violence does not discriminate by demographics. Right, this happens to people in all different income levels, ethnic backgrounds, et cetera. So this is happening in our communities, and we want to make sure people are understanding that. Just last year, we received it was about 4,500 crisis hotline calls, and we served 892 adults and children just on the Treasure Coast. So this is happening in our communities. We not only want our community to understand the issue of domestic violence, but also that the people who have been victimized by this crime understand that we are available, that Safe Space is here. So we are really looking at this as domestic violence is about power and control. Right, we hear a little bit about the physical and the emotional abuse, but there's also things like the economic abuse, using children, isolation, housing safety. So Safe Space wants to come alongside our survivors and really help give them back that power and the control of their own lives. So giving them the tools in order to have independence and the ability to thrive. So for example, we offer things like the Economic Justice Employment Program. We offer the Child Advocates as well as the Child Protection Investigations team that works directly with the county welfare system. We also collaborate for trauma-informed counselors. And to combat things like the isolation, we've got our adult advocates. We really try to make as many referrals to community resources as possible. We have peer support groups. And then we also have the housing safety. So we've got the emergency shelter, of course, but for those who don't need shelter or don't want to go into shelter, we want to be able to offer other safety measures for them. So we have things like the Injunction for Protection program, our attorneys who are on staff. We have the safety planning with things like camera doorbells, window locks, motion light sensors, things like that. So we want to make sure that people are safe as possible. And oftentimes we see that witnesses to domestic violence are afraid to speak up or to get involved. They're not sure what to do. So we're asking that each one of us here today really do our best to learn more about the issue and to be able to talk about this and to speak up when needed. One way, though, that we can participate with our group on Safe Space is having our 12th annual Walk a Mile in Her Shoes campaign. This is in Vero Beach. This will be Friday, October 27th at 5 p.m. But also, please visit the website, right, safespacefl.org to learn more about the issue, about us, and then our upcoming events. But we do thank you very much for your support and then for this proclamation today.
Thank you very much. Would you like to introduce yourself? Please. Everyone should know your fine work.
I'm Marina Johnson, and I'm an outreach advocate for Safe Space.
Thank you very much.
Good morning. Happy to be here. My name is Claudia, and I work as an outreach advocate for Martin County. I also support survivors on San Lucie. And it's great to have this every year, and this is I think, my third year coming. It makes a difference. Thank you.
Good morning. I'm Brian Gardner. I'm a Safe Space board member.
Fantastic. Okay. Thank you for that very much. Our next presentation proclamation is Volunteers in Medicine. Many of you have heard of Volunteers in Medicine or not familiar with the services that they offer, the individuals that are eligible for their treatment. Excuse me. So I wanted to give them an opportunity. I had the great pleasure of recently touring their facility, which, if you're thinking, oh, Volunteers in Medicine, it's probably, a budget type of operation for people that are struggling financially. It is a beautiful state-of-the-art facility where people that are in financial need of these services can go and be treated with respect and have top-notch care. And the reason I wanted the representatives to come today is that they have capacity. If you or someone you know or work with or live near needs these services, there's no reason in Martin County to go without these services. We know that if you let a small medical issue linger, it becomes a tremendous medical issue or fatal. And so when I asked them, assuming, oh, you must be at capacity, they said, no, as a matter of fact, we are always open for additional patients. I said, we need you to come to the commission so that everyone would have an opportunity to hear about your services. And without further ado, I would bring Dr. Jordan Bromberg up to share a little bit about the organization that is right here in your community that you might not have been aware of. Sir, welcome. Thank you so much for coming.
Thank you for having me and for seeing me back so soon again. So someone's going to have to help me with figuring out how I change the slides.
Well, we have an expert, so as you just
say change the slide?
Yeah, or something.
Perfect.
Slide.
Thank you. So my name is Jordan Bromberg, and I'm the medical director of Volunteers in Medicine Clinic. I've been practicing internal medicine geriatrics on the Treasure Coast since 1988. About 2.5 years ago, I retired. My last 23 years were working for Martin Health Cleveland Clinic. And that's something I didn't do all that well because my retirement lasted about 2 weeks. And then I was fortunate enough to be asked to take on the position of medical director at Volunteers in Medicine Clinic. I went to medical school in Albany, New York, and after that I did my training in the United States Air Force. I spent 7 years on active duty, and after that I moved up to the Treasure Coast. With me today are my executive director, Mary Fields, who has been with this clinic from day one and really is the backbone of our clinic, and Mia Cruz, who does our community outreach. Can I have the next slide, please? So we were founded in 1995 by what was then Martin Memorial Hospital in conjunction with a group of local physicians who felt that quality health care should be available to all of our residents. In 2001, we became an independent 501c3 nonprofit organization. May I have the next slide? So who are our patients? Our patients are Martin County residents who have no health insurance and earn less than 200% of the federal poverty level. That currently would be approximately $29,000 for an individual and give or take about $9,000 or $10,000 for each additional family member. These people are our neighbors. They work in lawn maintenance, construction, and roofing. They're our barbers, our cashiers, our wait staff, just to name a few. May I have the next slide, please? Here's an idea of the demographics of our clinic. Basically, we see patients who are 18 to 65, because if you're under 18, most patients will get Medicaid, and if you're over 65, most will get Medicare. So our patients fall between that age group. Next slide, please. Here's a view of the ethnicity, which kind of mirrors that of Martin County. May I have the next slide? And as you can see, our patients live throughout the county. Here are the demographics. I'm sure that everybody has patients in their communities. Next slide, please. Talk a little bit about the funding and support. Obviously, we need to operate. Next slide, please. Our cash this is a slide showing our cash donations. We get about 10% from cash, from people just making donations to the clinic. 45% comes from special events. We have a gala every year, and Carson's Tavern sponsors a golf tournament, and they have been gracious enough to make us the beneficiaries. And then we get 45% from grants, and we thank you for your help with that. Next slide, please. That's only a small portion of where we get things for the clinic. Most of what we get comes from in-kind donations. The hospital and its diagnostic services provide us with 54% of our in-kind donations. We get 17% from our volunteer services and 29% of our donated medications. And I'd like to just spend a second on that because I think that's so important. People have read, it's been in the news over the past year about the cost of insulin, patients not being able to afford their insulin. There are some bills that have been forwarded that would limit the cost of insulin to $35 a month, which is great, but for a lot of our patients, $35 a month is $35 that they're not putting towards food. And we get that for them for free. We are able to get medications for our patients at our clinic through the hard work of our medical assistants that I could not prescribe when I was in practice because insurance wouldn't pay for them. So we are able to get really top-notch care for all of our patients. Another example would be treating hepatitis C, which is fairly prevalent in our community. And the cost for a round of treatment for hepatitis C is between $25,000 and $30,000. And we're able to get that for free for our patients with a 95% cure rate. Can I have the next slide, please? So when you put that all together, it turns out that for every dollar that we get in cash donations, we give out $9 worth of care. And I think that's a pretty impressive return on investment. For a budget of a little bit over $1 million a year, we give out close to $10 million worth of health care. Can I have the next slide, please? This is one that really means the most to me, and I'll have the next slide if I could. This is one of my favorite sayings that shows up in our brochures. The treatment is free and the care is priceless. We provide everything in our clinic that you can get at any primary care clinic or primary care office with the best insurance. And it makes me really proud to say that I think we do it as well, if not better, than anybody else in the community, even if you have the best insurance. And I do hope that everybody here has some form of health insurance. I'd like you to try to imagine if you didn't. Where would you go to get your high blood pressure treated? To prevent you from having a stroke or a heart attack? Who would treat your diabetes so that you didn't lose a leg or end up on dialysis? Who would find your cancer early enough to cure it? Who would replace your hip if you couldn't walk anymore? These are all things that we can do at our clinic. We, in the past year, we've had patients have open heart surgery, brain surgery, joint replacements, all at absolutely no cost to our patients. And honestly, I could stand up here and tell you for a long time all the great things that I think that we do, but sometimes our patients say it better than I can. So I'd just like to share an excerpt from a letter that we received from one of our patients. This was a woman who lost her health insurance and her job during the pandemic and had a lot of medical issues and really had nowhere else to turn but to us. And she said, "I have experienced excellent medical care in the past and wasn't confident that a place that offered medical assistance for the economically challenged could provide any care resembling the level of medical proficiency I had in the past. I witnessed the staff and volunteers at every visit being so professional and sensitive to the needs of all their patients. They don't practice medicine for the organizational and managerial aspects. They do their work for the love of humanity." Can I have the next slide, please? So obviously we impact our patients, but we also impact our community. Can I have the next slide? We basically take care of our workforce that I mentioned. We keep our workforce healthy. Maybe you don't know, but you also partner with local colleges and medical schools. Every Wednesday morning, I have a medical student from Florida State University College of Medicine who works with us, and our nurse practitioners have students from Florida Atlantic University School of Nursing practitioner, and teaching them really helps us learn and keeps us up to date as well. And it also helps us honor those who taught us. Next, please. So the impact on our health system, obviously treating the conditions that I talked about, keep our patients out of the emergency room. It helps reduce hospital readmissions, and I think we all know what the cost to our healthcare system is if these patients wouldn't be seeing us and would end up in the emergency room. May I have the next slide? This is one I shared with you 2 weeks ago, but I'll do it again. Winston Churchill said that healthy citizens are the greatest asset that any country can have. Next slide. So, for those of you who haven't seen us, please come and visit us, come see us in action, and we thank you for your help. And if anybody had any questions, I would be more than happy to answer them.
Doctor, thank you so much. Commissioner Smith.
Again, thank you.
Thank you.
You know, when Dr. Voss came to us 20 years ago, Mary, whatever that was, he had this idea and had this partnership in mind of how we could collaborate and how we could be a bigger part of all this. What you all have turned this into and what his, I think, plan for us all was is nothing short of amazing. I don't know of other communities. Maybe every other community has one of these in their community. But if they don't, they should. It should be the model for certainly our state. It is absolutely remarkable what you all pull off and what you do. And thank you for retiring and thinking that that wasn't such a good idea. Because clearly, just listening to you and the passion you have for what you do transfers to the clinic and to everything that goes on. So thank you very, very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. I appreciate you coming back to see us. Okay, we're going to take public comment now. There's a couple of things to share with you in public comment. This first portion is general public comment. If you'd like to discuss something with us that's not an agenda item, you're more than welcome to do that. Or if you'd like to discuss something with us that is an agenda item that you're not going to be able to stay until the item is heard in the agenda, you can say it now. However, if you say something about an agenda item this morning, and when we get to that item, we don't allow you to do another 3 minutes during the item. If you are here for the purchase of the property for 714, after our public comment and commissioner comments, we're taking that agenda item first. So if you say, okay, I can't stay too long, but I can stay for the item, just let me know and I'll put your card aside for the time being. But you have 3 minutes to speak, which is a fair amount of time so that everyone will get an opportunity to have a multiple list here. At the 2-minute and 45-second point, you're going to hear a beep at the podium here. That doesn't mean to stop. That means you have 15 seconds to sort of finalize your thoughts so we don't just cut you off in mid-sentence, okay? And with that, our first request to speak form is Ms. Belinda Galels. I'm familiar with your husband a little bit. Good to see you. Welcome.
Thank you. I'm Belinda Galels. I live in Palm City. I'm a concerned citizen. They've left now, but I would like to thank Dr. Bromberg. I'm very familiar with Dr. Bromberg. I'm very familiar with someone that he actually cured. I think they do great work there, and the other organizations I would like to thank as well, but they're gone. And congratulations to Jennifer. So I did have a comment on 714. Do you want me to save that?
No, you can.
Well, I wanted to follow up, see what was going on with the purchase of that land in lieu of the apartment complex that was slated to go in there. I also am very concerned about this piece of land that is adjacent to Tractor Supply. I have emailed all the commissioners a couple of times. I got a response from, I think he's a county growth employee who told me, and
we're handling that this week.
Chairman, you and I discussed this. He said it was a sandhill crane sanctuary, but it's a swamp. It's literally a swamp that you would see maybe in a third world country. And with all the rain we've gotten, the mosquitoes are definitely proliferating there. You know, we have some cases of malaria in the county. So this is really a safety and health concern issue. That's that. Additionally, I want to express that I continue to be saddened and downhearted by the change in our community. I attended a meeting last week with our state representatives and Senator Harrell, and I had to go down Salerno Road, which I have not been down in quite some time. And the earth on either side of the road is coming up. It's being developed. And I'm very upset that our county has very little green space left. If you see a lot that's green, it usually has a sold sign on it. And I certainly hope that this will stop at some point before we become, as other people have expressed their concern, counties south of us. Do we have to move to Sebastian to have another Stewart? Those are my comments.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Mr. Mark Perry. Mr. Tom Pine. Tom, we'll take you, and then Mr. Perry will go after you. Please. You're on deck, Mr. Perry.
Morning.
Good morning, Commissioners. Excuse me. My name's Tom Pine. I live in the Jensen Beach area. The budget meetings of September 12th and 26th, 2023 were well attended by local taxpayers, and county commissioners more or less did what the taxpayers wanted, no new tax increases. The trouble, as I see it, is none of the cuts are expected to last more than 1 year. So in reality, all this commission did was kick the can down the road till next year. As they kicked the can down the road, most of the short-term cuts were on the backs of the lowest-earning taxpayers in Martin County. And of course, the lowest wage earners also had the least amount of people speaking on their behalf. And this is how this commission has been spending our tax dollars all along. It has nothing to do with right or wrong. It's all about crowd size. A recent article in the New York Times, Facts of Interest, the proportion of people over the age of 65 living in poverty in the United States jumped to 14.1% last year, from 10.7 in 21 and 9.5 in 2020. Later in this meeting, we will see once more exactly how this works. When the majority of our county commissioners vote yes to buy a parcel of land on 714 for one reason only, a group of local residents don't like the project. The parcel of land was originally bought for $2.1 million, and now we, the taxpayers, are going to be buying it for $4,023,000 plus $20,000 for closing costs. According to our Martin County Property Appraiser's Office, fair market value for this property is $1,863,350. I guess some people would call this a good deal. Two issues that were raised during the public hearing, public comment, that got some of the most attention were the amount of empty buses, Marty buses, running on our roadways, and that our county government should get out of the business of running businesses that are not directly related to government operations. The businesses mentioned were the RV park at Phipps Park, the water park, the 2 mooring fields, and but not least, the 3 restaurants. Cut our government spending was the theme of the meeting, and this would be the most obvious place to start. Stop using our tax dollars to build your dreams and wishes on our backs. We can't afford it any longer. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mr. Pine. Mark Perry, you are next. I said thank you. Mr. Perry, you are next, followed by Christina Ardigio.
Good morning, Commissioners. Thank you. Sorry for the delay.
I didn't see you out in the lobby.
Sorry. Later on today, you're going to hear from Public Works on particularly the FY24 water quality projects update. And take good interest in this. I just want to applaud this because we're in the St. Lucie estuary watershed particularly, and we're tied in under the Northern Everglades and Estuaries Protection Plan for the 3 watersheds, Okeechobee, St. Lucie, and Caloosahatchee. But in our St. Lucie watershed, as you know, we established a total maximum daily load back in 2009 of nitrogen and phosphorus loadings. And what we wanted to do to reach that was implement a basin management action plan in 2013. In 15 years, we're supposed to meet that TMDL. And in order to do that, we have starting loads of nitrogen and phosphorus in the watershed of about 4 million pounds per year for nitrogen, and almost like the 839,000 pounds of phosphorus per year. So Martin County is a part of 21 entities that are trying to make those reductions to meet our TMDL. And what's exciting is these projects that you're going to hear about and updates, the reduction goal for Martin County was 78,000 pounds of total nitrogen and 32,000 pounds of total phosphorus. To date, as you'll see in the project update, 70,000 pounds of reduction have been done for nitrogen and 15,000 pounds in phosphorus. So you're absolutely on track to do what we're supposed to do as our part of the reductions of these pollutants into the watershed of St. Lucie. So thank you, thank you. I think we've got to get after the other entities in the picture here that encompass our watershed and 520,000 acres that we have to reduce their phosphorus and nitrogen to meet our TMDL. Unfortunately, it's not going to be met in the 15 years. They're going to push it down another 5 years down the road, which is unfortunate. One of the final things on the project you'll hear about is a seagrass restoration projects update. And part of that is we've been doing seagrass restoration since 2016, oyster restoration in the estuary since 2005. And Martin County is partnering with Florida Oceanographic to help expand the nursery, to do more seagrass restoration work, which is going to be great at zero local funds being expended, and all this coming from grant funds. So thank you, and thank you, thank you. Let's get to work, keep on the pressure on, and let's get this estuary cleaned up. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate everything you're doing.
I don't want to talk until the agenda of the grant for the docks.
Got you. Thank you very much. How about Candace Cooney? Good morning.
Hi, my name is Candace Cooney. I'm a pickleball player here in Martin County at Hal Patioki Park. A couple months ago in July, our friend Sam Hopkins dropped to the ground of a heart attack and passed away in front of the 40 players there that day. It's still disturbing, I'm sure you can tell. At first, it was a very hot, humid morning. At first, everybody thought Sam was having a heat-related issue. So we're running around getting ice packs, cold water, towels, things like that. A few minutes had passed before a nurse on the other court came over and realized Sam wasn't breathing. She immediately yelled for someone to call 911 to find an AED, and she started chest compressions. By the time EMTs arrived, a good 10 or more minutes after Sam hit the ground, if you know anything about cardiac arrest, you know it was too late for Sam. It was so unfortunate that there was no AED there. I'm not saying it would have saved Sam's life, but it would have given us another opportunity to try and keep him alive until the EMTs got there. There are no AEDs at the pickleball courts in Martin County. There are in counties surrounding here. And they are attached to the gates around the pickleball courts so that they're quickly and easily accessible. A couple years ago, something similar happened. That gentleman survived. Pickleball players went to Parks and Recreation and were told they would not be buying or were supporting AEDs at the park. So we decided we need an AED. We're not going to go through this again. So we raised money. We raised over $5,000. We actually purchased 3 AEDs for Hal Patioki, Justin Wilson, and Langford Park. Once we had the AEDs, I then contacted the head of Park and Recreation, hoping that because we weren't asking for any money, he would help us find a way to store the AEDs at the park. So should it happen again, there's an AED there. Immediately, it was very clear that they were not going to allow us to attach them to the gates, and they weren't even going to work with us in finding a place to store them. I'm here today asking for your help and partnership in finding a way to store the AEDs that are already purchased at the park. Should this ever happen again, we at least have an opportunity to try and save our friends' lives. Thank you.
Ma'am, before you go, I would tell you that I have had the opportunity to work with some of the folks in your group. We are having a meeting with our legal department, Parks and Rec, and Fire Rescue to coordinate some solution to your vision.
And I realize there's a lot more to it than just that. But let's partner, find a way. There has to be a solution we'll donate whatever it is. We're willing to do anything to have these AEDs. And it's not just for use of pickleball players,
I understand.
right? Anybody at the park that's having an issue would have access to the AED.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
We're working on it.
Thank you.
Okay. Our next request to speak form is Miss Amy Pritchett. Ms. Pritchett, good morning. Good to see you.
Good morning, Commissioners. I am going to speak about the docks in Port Salerno because I'm not able to stay for the entire meeting. I'm just asking each of you to please consider approving the funding. Let's get the grant. It won't cost the county anything. Most of the time, we're asking for things that cost money. This won't cost anybody anything. It's a grant that's available. Those docks need to be revitalized, refurbished, replaced, all the R's that I can think of. And the other thing I wanted to say was I'm aware of the purchase of the property in Palm City. What I didn't realize at the time was the actual value is far less than the price tag. So I'm wondering if there's a creative way, Jennifer Manning, if you're here, listen, to fund it but not pay $4 million because it's only worth 1.8 and change. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next request to speak form is Mr. Michael Serkis. Thank you. How about Mr. Kevin Eddy? Sir, good morning and welcome.
Thank you very much. I'm a resident of Port Salerno, and I am very concerned with Mrs. Hurd's relationship with a developer. They've had dozens of meetings no one knows about. There's been hundreds of communications. We had a meeting last week. I asked you directly, just be honest with us.
Sir, all I ask is that you speak to us collectively.
Okay, I'm sorry.
Thank you.
Absolutely, sir. All I would like to know is what her plans were with this developer. Could she be more frank and honest with us? And we got no answer at all. Why I'm here today is a couple of the things she said where I see with the development. It seems like at some point a house was changed from being whatever it was to less than 850 square feet is only half a house. And also the parking requirements were relaxed. In her course of, in someone's course of speaking, it was said, well, I voted against it. The other four commissioners voted for it. I'm just curious if there's any truth to that and if there's any way we could reverse that, if that's true. That's all, sir. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Appreciate your comments. Our next request to speak form is Mr. Casey Cass. Mr. Cass, good morning.
Good morning, Commissioners. So I know everybody expected me to be here. Every time I come in here, something else happens that gives me a different direction in my thoughts and talks. But for those that don't know me, Stewart resident, own a business in Port Salerno, member of SOS, which is now well over 1,000 members. Came here to speak about the docks and ask for everybody to support pursuit of that grant. And that was it, because I wanted to be the first one so I could get back to work. But since I'm here, I will tell you that two things happened that affected me in this meeting already. I'm not a public speaker, so I get choked up because I'm very passionate about things I talk about. But number one was that we had prayer. And I think that as our community is fighting through all kinds of issues, we have to remember that we all are fighting for a reason. We all believe in what we're fighting for, and it doesn't mean that everybody that opposes us is a villain, number one. Number two, the Pledge of Allegiance. And I think that we have to remember that we're all American citizens, we're all Floridians, and we're all citizens of Martin County. And I think that that impacted me because we really need to keep that into consideration. We're tearing things apart. We're tearing people apart. There's not a single commissioner up here that somebody doesn't have a complaint about. We really need to have some common goals. We really do. Lastly, the gentleman who said the Pledge of Allegiance mentioned the not the 4th Infantry Division. He mentioned Fort Carson, Colorado, where I was stationed. I was in the 4th Infantry Division, and my unit crest said Fidelis et Verus. It's Latin for faithful and true. And that's what I'm asking of everybody here. Be faithful and true to what you believe. Take the politics out of it and do what you believe, please. Please support the fishermen. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next request to speak form is Mr. John Snyder.
Different John Snyder.
Sir, welcome.
Good morning. My name is John Snyder. I've lived in Rocky Point for 40 years. Lived for the same house for 38 years. I've coached Little League here and soccer for 14 years, been involved in a lot of the Port Salerno youth leagues and for quite some time. My children grew up here. We had a family business here for 40 years. That's just a little history on me, just so you know I'm a serious, long-time Salerno resident. It's hard to put into thoughts, hours of thoughts, into 3 minutes. But here's some highlights. First of all, thank you, Casey. My sentiments exactly. The commercial fishing docks, I've watched them deplete. I've watched them go away. Black Seafood, which used to be where Stewart Corinthian Yacht Club is right now, used to be a thriving fisherman haven, okay? That's gone. Our commercial fisherman area is dwindling, and I can't help but think that they're being pushed out by development. So anyway, enough on that. Parking, I hate to see parking be put in just to serve a developer and not serve the community the way it should be. Especially parking for the Salerno boat ramp by Broward Street. There is no parking. You can get a handful of cars in there. That could be better utilized, that boat ramp. Myself included, I find it real hard to get there. And now with Sanskrit Parks, which, by the way, used to be a campground, what used to be very well used is now, unfortunately, well, right now it's part of it is being not utilized the way it could be because of refurbishment, which is a great thing. So anyway, if you could do anything for parking, it would be serving to the community to do some parking over there by that Salerno boat ramp. The parking, one of the suggested parking areas is the retention area on Commerce Street. I cannot believe that you guys have not driven down Commerce in a heavy rainstorm. We had a family business on Monroe Street, and I drove through there. I drove through 3 feet of water, and you're gonna compact or change instead of making it bigger. You're gonna try to make parking there, which will make flooding even worse. I know I've only got 15 seconds, and I don't have enough time to finish this, but you guys are our county commissioners.
Sir, your time is up.
Thanks.
We got you. Thank you. Our next request to speak form is Mr. Butch Olson Jr.
Oh, wait.
Okay. How about William Embry? Good morning, sir. Welcome.
Yes, any Google search of the history of Port Salerno, Florida, the first thing that comes up is commercial fishing. And by you guys today voting yes for the grant for the docks will ensure that history keeps going. I've been living here for 50 years in Martin County, been selling fish in Martin County for 28 years. And when I first started, there was numerous places to sell fish. But for the past 17 years, myself and many other commercial fishermen have relied on the docks in Port Salerno for our families, our livelihood. And by voting yes today, you'll help ensure that that keeps going. So much of Martin County's history has been paved over. I mean, literally all you have left is the House of Refuge as a historical site for anything. And like I said, that's mainly the history of Port Salerno. It's not apartments or mooring fields or more bars. It's commercial fishing. So try to help us keep it that way. Thank you.
Thank you, sir, very much. A last request to speak form, and if you'd like to speak during general public comment, you can speak first and fill the form out afterwards, is Mr. Michael Ashley. Michael Ashley, maybe in the lobby? I'll hold on to the form if Mr. Ashley comes back. Okay, with that, we're going to try to move along. I know some of you are here to hear these specific agenda items, so we'll move along pretty quickly. We'll go to commissioner comments, and we'll start with you, Commissioner Smith. Commissioner Heatherington.
All set. Oh, you know what? I'll just mention the Stewart Beach hosted. I thought you probably would a partnership with TDC and Sports Commission hosted the World Firefighter Championship. So there were over 300 firefighters from 17 countries competing. It was pretty amazing to see all those folks gathered on Stewart Beach. And I want to give a huge shout out to the ladies of Martin County Fire Rescue who absolutely crushed it this weekend. I think they were third in their relay, but they were pretty amazing watching these fantastic servants of our community competing in the World Firefighter Challenges. So I think it's still going on maybe for a couple more days, no?
No.
No? All right, well, it was a great event, and I think that we were fortunate to have hosted it.
Yes. Commissioner Smith?
Thank you for doing that. I was going to kind of speed us up and get us onto the agenda, but since you brought it up, we took an opportunity last year to invest, and we had the regionals last year, and this year we had the Worlds. And like you said, we had 17 countries represented. We had folks from the Ukraine back again this year. It was a really super event, and if you think of what we did, converting the parking lot into a competition area out at the beach, really created a fantastic location for them to come and compete. So thanks for bringing that up, and congratulations to all the competitors. And you're right, our girls team, they are amazing. Our guys are good too, but as you said, the women really stepped up and crushed a lot of the competition. So thank you for that, and thank you to the TDC for their support and all of the hotels that contribute to our bed tax that make that funding available for us to do these kind of events. Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Jenkins? Commissioner Hurd?
I'm set.
Mr. Donaldson?
I'm all set.
Ms. Elise Elder is filling in for our county attorney, Sarah Woods, who is on grandma duty, which is fantastic. Anything?
All set?
I'd like to wish you a happy birthday.
Thank you.
She reminded us this morning, 29 and holding.
29 and holding,
Probably not that much off 29.
Mr. Chair, I just,
Time's up. You gave it up. You forfeited.
you had mentioned earlier something about the fair. I didn't know if you were going to bring that up.
I see her working her way closer and closer to the front. For my commissioner comments, we had Miss Casey Mullins come from the Fair Association a couple meetings ago, to discuss something. She is under a time constraint. She did have a meeting with our legal department and spoke with our administration. She wanted to come forward and share some information that the board had asked for it to come back. As I understand it, the board is ready to hear what Ms. Mullins has to say. If you could please come forward.
Thank you, Board. I really appreciate your time here again. This is Casey Ingerman, Executive Director with the Martin County Fair. I've had the opportunity to speak with most of you about where the fair is today and the importance of our footprint and moving forward. And our footprint, I mean our total land mass. We have a real parking issue out there, and I have had 2 meetings with South Florida Water Management District just to see if they're willing to engage with the county. They absolutely are. There was 44 acres in my last presentation that was over to the west, contiguous to the fair property right now, that we're hoping that the county will discuss with South Florida Water Management District. And I'm here today to ask you that you can direct staff to have the conversation with South Florida Water Management District to see if we can work out whether it's a lease or they deed the property over the county. I'm not sure. That's between the county and South Florida Water Management District to discuss. But if we were able to get that property for the fair, it would be tremendous. It's an absolute needed asset for the fair. It's the largest and oldest family event in the county, and with that, we have a lot of people that come out there, and we're estimating 5,000, maybe even more parking spaces. So I don't want to be where we are today with the fair, where everybody's saying there's no parking, it's too small. We have the ability to start out right today and make sure that this fair is designed properly for generations to come, not just for today, not for tomorrow, but 50 years from now. So I'm hoping today that I can get the County Board of Commission support to direct staff to speak with South Florida Water Management District about that additional 44 acres.
Thank you, ma'am. Commissioner Smith?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I would move that we ask staff to come back with an agenda item when it's appropriate, when they're ready, that reflects both the discussion of additional land from the Water Management District to the county, as well as the impacts of that discussion and of that agreement to the lease option, as well as an update on the timeline and all the other stuff that's involved in the lease option.
Commissioner Jenkins?
Second that, but is that necessary for us to give staff direction to start communication with South Florida Water Management on finding out? Use your microphone.
So my understanding is that it will alter our current agreement that we have with the fair. It also is an opportunity to take all of Casey's ideas that she presented to us 2 weeks ago, whenever that was, and incorporate that into a new agreement, which really won't be a new agreement. It'll be just a refurbished version of what we have today. And so that it is consistent, I think, is probably my word, probably with what the aspirations of the fair are relative to both the additional land acquisition, but also the future.
But it would include staff engaging with South Florida
Yes.
Water Management to bring
so my
their wants and how that would be structured back to us with this.
My hope would be that an agenda item comes back that staff will present to us both the land issue, the lease option issue, and everything that's kind of wrapped up in a package that we will have two things should happen. One, we will have the opportunity to meet with our staff and understand the ins and outs of the agreement. Number two, it gives us the ability to have something to vote on. And not that Casey coming and asking for something isn't good enough, but it'll give us a formal format of something to vote on with a staff recommendation.
I believe Commissioner Jenkins' question, and I think it's mine as well, is that today we're giving our traditional head nods, or in your case, a motion, to staff to enter into an official conversation with South Florida Water Management District, because the Fair Association cannot. We would have to do it. Then come back with that information to an agenda item? Or do you want to wait? Because waiting is not an option.
Okay, the land's not going anywhere. It's
But
sitting
the
right.
deal is.
No,
I was at the meeting. It's a time frame.
That's correct. Thank you, Commissioner Camp. It's just a conversation. We're just asking for the conversation to happen. It needs
Casey,
to
that's
come through.
exactly what my motion, Chair,
I
that
just
was
wanna
what
make
my,
sure.
3 times. That's
Okay,
what my
now we know.
motion is, but I want it in the form of an agenda that it comes back from legal with recommendations as to what we need to vote on, so we're not just hopping around and on the fly making decisions.
That's fine.
So
staff is going to engage with South Florida Water Management. We are going to have a memorandum of understanding between the two entities of how we are going to proceed with this. That's what I'm asking for. Yes, sir. Okay. So
Here we are. Commissioner Hurd.
Second that motion.
Yeah, we have a lease option agreement with the Fair Association. We've had it in place for at least 5 years now. The county has complied with all of our responsibilities in the agreement, and the Fair Association has not. And that's an agreement for 85 acres. And so I'm very reluctant to expand the scope and the size of the parcel when the initial steps toward compliance have not been met. As I met with Ms. Mullins and said, you know, we haven't seen your baby steps and you're asking us to permit Mach 1. And I just, you know, I'm reluctant to increase the size of the lease agreement, increase our responsibility when we haven't seen any compliance. Yeah.
Let me jump in for a moment. As your representative approved by the board several years ago it's in my district. Ms. Mullins is new to this conversation. However, I would disagree respectfully with some of my colleagues' comments. We have not lived up as the county to every portion. The original agreement was 100 acres. And then when we had a great opportunity with the Indian River State College to create the Indiantown High School, we shaved off 25 acres off of that. So that's not the original agreement. For the folks that are here and listening at home, what we're trying to do here is the Fair Association, through fundraising efforts and trying to negotiate during the pandemic, which basically derailed almost everybody. I'm not holding them responsible for a lack of progress during a pandemic. I think that Jay Spicer before Ms. Mullins and the association in itself has worked diligently to move the ball down the field. They spent thousands, tens of thousands of dollars with professional engineers to lay out a footprint of what, not just the fair, but this agriplex. We're talking about history and heritage in Martin County. It's agricultural. It's maritime. We're not just talking about a carnival. We're talking about opportunities out there that there's a new business model. Ms. Mullins and her husband are professional business people. They're number crunchers. It's a new day with the Fair Association plan. They came up with a very clever idea, because if they have to now take their 100-acre footprint plan and make it 85 acres, they have to start from scratch. They have to raise all of that money again and do another engineering thing, and our deadline with the fair will expire. So what they cleverly came up with is they reached out to South Florida Water Management District, who has acreage available to us, I believe at no cost, to shift the entire original plan over and still use it. I went to a meeting with the South Florida Water Management District and Ms. Mullins, and they were interested. However, they do not negotiate with the Fair Association. They negotiate with the county. Ms. Mullins came, made a presentation of where she was going as the new director, and the board rightfully said, we can't make these decisions on the fly. We need you to come back. At that point, she already had an appointment with our legal department, sat down with legal, sat down with some of us. Obviously, you heard that she did. South Florida Water Management District wants to make a decision now. Yes, the land is not going anywhere, but the decision-making process, the door will close, and we won't do it. I agree with what Commissioner Smith said. This is a big deal. We need to do it. But I've been through the process in a front row seat. Even when it was Mr. Spicer, they had diligently worked very carefully to move this thing along. It is not an easy process. So I would hope that we can at least get to 3, which I'm pretty confident we were. We have a motion and a second, and I'm 3, and I don't know what my other colleagues will do, but I think we owe it. Remember, we're not adversaries with the Fair Association. The Fair Association is us. That's our history. That's our future. This is way out by Indiantown Airport. They're on 11 acres now. Let's see what they can do. Let's give them the opportunity. I think Ms. Mullins deserves it. Commissioner Smith, you'll have the final word.
All the
Actually,
reasons you just stated, exactly the reason why I think restating and solidifying, if you will, the future of the agreement is so important. And
ready to do it.
I understand. Okay.
Commissioner Hurd, you're going to get the final word.
Yeah, I don't want clever. I want responsible and I want accountable. So, Mr. Donaldson, what is your impression of what you're being asked to negotiate right now?
I understand it. If I understand the motion correctly, I would be to go work with the Water Management District on allowing them to negotiate a transfer of an additional 44 acres to the county. Simultaneous with that, it sounds like under this motion that I would then, before accepting that property, work with the Fair Association to bring an agenda item that also deals with the current lease, or actually lease option. And then there's a various number of provisions in the lease option that doesn't get converted to a lease until they're met. So obviously, that is the approach as I understand it on the agenda as presented.
I would agree with that.
So you're going to be acting as an advocate for the Fair Association?
So I would be acting as an advocate for the county to have additional property transferred from the Water Management District from one public entity to another, and determine with the district whatever provisions they have onto it, with the idea that that property then would be under the county's ownership, a potential addition to the lease option. Which also means it's also an additional portion for the overall lease.
I'm going to stop saying someone has the final word. Commissioner Smith.
What it also does is it allows every board member sitting up here to say yes or no to the agreement and the contents of the agreement, which is everybody's right up here to do so.
The other final point that I'll make, and it will be the final point, is the fact that the South Florida Water Management District also mentioned to us that they have hundreds, if not thousands, of acres adjacent, and the negotiation and the agreement would be that the Fair Association would create a trailhead for walking and biking and horseback riding on those 44 acres, utilizing our parking that the Fair Association will construct, the restroom facilities and the trailhead, so that our residents then can utilize that 44 acres to access 1,000 other acres of beautiful, clean nature. And I think it only takes 3 commissioners to give our administrator direction. We have a motion by Commissioner Smith, seconded by Commissioner Jenkins. All those in favor? Aye. All those opposed? The motion carries unanimously.
Thank you, Commissioners.
Very much. Okay. Let's do this. I believe a majority of you are here for the, can you track down Miss Manning, our recent retiree?
Yes.
And have her come down. We're going to do that. This is a very quick agenda item to hear the grant application request. So we're going to take departmental number 1, Office of Management and Budget items which require board approval. That's where the DOC grant application is in. And that's a very quick process of going through those items. And then we will take public hearing number 1, which is the 714 property, which will be a little longer than this item.
Commissioners.
Mr. Donaldson, you want to start it off?
Yes, I can start it off. So this agenda item has a collection of items which require board approval. The tradition is to review them all individually and then approve them as a group. I think in this particular case, if you want, we could take the item in question out singularly and have a vote on that before you go on to the rest.
It's a good idea. Thank you.
And so this is a permission to apply for the Florida Department of Environmental Protection Coastal Partnership Initiative on behalf of the Port Salerno Commercial Fishing Dock Authority. And Mr. Stokas has actually been the one for helping to prepare and work with staff on this. So why don't I turn it over to Mr. Stokas?
Thank you.
Good afternoon, or excuse me, good morning, Assistant County Administrator George Stokas. Yes, this is a 50-50 match grant offered by the Florida Department of Environmental Protection for Coastal Partnership Initiative. These monies will be used to replace the existing commercial fishing docks, weigh station, and submerged for submerged lands and uplands. The project is, the match dollars are being provided by the Port Salerno Dock Authority. It's $60,000. The request is for $60,000, and this is for our permission to apply.
Thank you. We're going to take this item separately so the folks that are here waiting can go about their day. Any questions from the commission? Commissioner Hurd.
What is Martin County paying?
0.
Who's preparing the application?
I've already prepared the application.
Thank you.
We have 3 requests to speak form. The first one is Mr. Butch Olson Jr. Sir, welcome.
Commissioners, Butch Olson for the record. So I just want to start by saying I spoke to you folks at the budget hearing, and I want to affirm something I said there. You folks have an incredibly difficult job, and you showed a lot of wisdom during the budget hearings. And as I said then, you don't get enough credit publicly for what you do. You had to balance a lot of issues, a lot of interests, and you did so while still maintaining minimal effects on the taxpayers' wallets. And I really just want to say thank you again for that. So, Commissioners, please support this grant application. Not only is it vital for our commercial fishermen, but it's really it's a big support of Port Salerno as a whole, present and future. So the Port Salerno Commercial Fishing Dock Authority brings in up to 2 million pounds of fish a year annually. So when you enjoy the delicious local caught seafood fish at local restaurants and markets, that's really a representation of the talent and hard work of our commercial fishermen and Port Salerno and our members. So, I grew up in the commercial fishing industry. My father was a commercial fisherman, so I understand the challenges facing this industry. I also understand the passion that motivates our commercial fishermen. So, your support today will just be an absolutely incredible motivation to our commercial fishermen. So please support Port Salerno, please support the commercial fishermen, and please support this grant application.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, and I'll be happy to answer any questions.
I don't think we'll have any questions for you.
Thank you.
Our next request to speak form is Christina Artigo. I had several different options in my head. Christina Artigo. Welcome.
Thank you, Commissioners, for letting me speak. So today I'm part of here for talk about the grant for the docks, and I also have petitions from our community that was signed for our docks that I submitted about 3 weeks ago. I submitted about almost 800. I have another 387 here, and I will definitely be emailing those all to you as well, so as a hard copy, and you'll be getting an email. So I just wanted to say that our community supports our commercial docks. If you go to any restaurants, you have fresh seafood, you're getting that from our docks. If you go into Port Salerno, you have our sign that says Historic Fisherman Village. So that is because we have our docks. So I'm here today to please say yes to this grant because that is our community, is our commercial docks.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Our next request to speak form is Michael Ashley.
You had to leave.
Okay. That's okay. How about Mr. Sean Ebersold? I saw you coming towards the front. I thought you were Michael Ashley.
No.
You're Sean Ebersold.
Yes.
Welcome.
Well, it's an absolute pleasure to be here. As you mentioned, my name is Sean Ebersold. I am the money guy with the Treasure Coast Marine Industries Association of the Treasure Coast. So I just want you to know how much we support the Port Authority and the grant application. And it's not just for the heritage, it's not just for the seafood, although I do like fish tacos and things like that, but it's really for the jobs as well. So we are, as an association, completely behind them. Hopefully you guys are too. So any questions?
No.
Thank you.
I think you'll be okay. Thank you very much. Anyone else looking to address us on this topic? Seeing none, I'd come back to the board by saying I agree. Someone said that when you think of Port Salerno, you think of the fishing. and the docks and the people that make a living down there. The Seafood Festival for many years highlighted that work, and you have my complete support for the grant is easy as far as I'm concerned. We're not asking us to do a lot of heavy lifting. From my perspective, it's a home run. Commissioner Smith.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. During our budget discussion, there was a lot of discussion relative to what makes our community what it is, and how we spend our money and how we address things that pop up during the course of the year. And I think one of the ways that our commission can certainly send a message to those involved in the various pieces that come to us. We just dealt with the Fairgrounds. Now we have the commercial fishermen in Port Salerno. We had some of our nonprofits this morning talk about the things they do. They're all here at the county because there's a direct connection between what we do and what the folks that serve that part of our community that's addressing us on that issue do as well. And so if you want to send a message of support, and if you want to send a message that we very much value a given industry, whether that's the fairgrounds industry or the commercial dock and commercial fishermen industry, you can support an agenda like this, and I believe that we have some others coming in the future. So with that, it is certainly my pleasure to make the motion to approve and give the direction to our staff to move forward.
Thank you. Commissioner Heatherington.
I was going to, I agree with that, and I was going to make a motion, so I'll second Commissioner Smith's motion.
You can make it.
Nope, I will second your motion. I agree with your comments.
Thank you. That being said, we have a motion by Commissioner Smith for staff's recommendation of approval, seconded by Commissioner Heatherington. All those in favor? Aye. All those opposed? The motion carries unanimously. Thank you very much. There are 11 more items on that agenda item, but we're going to hold off on those till a little bit later and give you all a chance. If you're more than welcome to stay with us for the whole agenda, but if you are looking to depart, now is that time. Now we'll take public hearing. My colleagues are asking for our closed captioning break. We'll take a 10-minute closed captioning.
It's 5 minutes.
There's a little stretch on the 10:30 break. We'll take a 10-minute break and be back. mid-morning closed captioning break. It is October 10th, 2023. We're continuing with our Board of County Commissioners meeting. We're going to take public hearing number 1, a final approval of an as-is purchase contract and adoption of a resolution approving and accepting a warranty deed for the purchase of a 6 plus or minus acre parcel from Jams Properties, Inc. in Palm City. It'll be presented by Ms. Carla Segura and Mr. Jim Gordon. Both of you, appreciate you being here. You are recognized.
Good morning, Carla Segura, Real Property Manager. This request is for final approval of the as-is purchase contract for the Jams parcel in Palm City and adoption of a resolution approving and accepting a warranty deed and dedication of 25-foot along Southwest Martin Highway as right-of-way. On August the 8th, the board directed staff to negotiate and sign a conditional contract with financing options and to bring it back to the board for determination. The property is located within the Palm City CRA and on the north side of Southwest Martin Highway, between Southwest Palm City School Avenue and Danforth Creek. Danforth Creek is a major drainage flowway for Palm City and Palm City Farms. This property has 2 active agreements on it at this time. One is for access for the residents of Oakbrook Estates at the Gardens, and this gives them access from Martin Highway down Newberry Court to the subdivision. There's also a 2-story office building that is currently under a 1-year lease, which will end on February 28th, 2024. The lessee currently pays about $1,460 a month for that lease. The conditional contract, which was signed on August 31st, has a 60-day inspection period for closing or 30 days after the board approval. A $150,000 deposit is due and payable to the escrow agent within 3 days of board's approval. Seller will pay all their property taxes that are due and payable at the time of closing. Satisfactory due diligence reports for title, environmental, survey, and appraisals are all attached to the agenda item. In an abundance of caution, 2 appraisals were ordered pursuant to Florida Statute 125.355 with 2 notices of publication in a local publication. Since both appraisals came back sufficient, the purchase price and a simple majority vote is sufficient to approve this purchase. Staff has determined that the public purpose may include stormwater, recreation, and/or CRA. Public involvement input will happen before final public purpose is determined. The recommended action is that the board approve the as-is purchase contract for the parcel located on Southwest Martin Highway and adopt a resolution approving and accepting the warranty deed with designation of a 25-foot strip of right-of-way along the north side of Southwest Martin Highway, and authorize the chairman to execute any and all documents necessary to complete the transaction, and to approve a budget transfer from the general fund reserves and authorize the preparation of interfund loan documents to repay the general fund. The interfund term will be for 5 years. The funding source for repayment will be District 5 MSTU for years 1 and 2, and Palm City CRA revenue for years 3 through 5. If there's any questions, we'd be happy to answer them.
Thank you very much. Mr. Donaldson.
Just to clarify, so the proposal does include an interfund loan at 0%, and with using district funds from this year at 433. Next year, in year FY25, we would look to increase the district contribution by $166,000. So we would have a $600,000 contribution, and the CRA would have $127,000. And then the CRA would take over all payments in 26, 27, and 28 to do the final payoff. If the board wanted to have the loan, the general fund repaid this year, we would still request you authorize the transfer of the general fund and then we would bring back a loan, a bank loan to refund the payment this year. We'd still rely on the CRA and the district funds, and if we kept it within the existing funds, it would likely be a 10-year proposal if you consider authorizing the district contribution to be increased next year. We could do it within 6 years, but the proposal on the here is a zero-interest interfund loan for a period of 5 years.
Thank you very much. Questions for staff from the commission? Seeing none at this time, I have one request to speak form. If anyone else would like to address us on this topic, you can either come and speak first and fill the form out afterwards. Our request to speak form is Mr. Michael Serkis. Sir, good morning.
Good morning. Thank you. Michael Serkis from Palm City. I'm coming today to tell you that I'm tired. I'm mentally drained watching the volume of construction that's gone on in our county over the last not that many years. I think a lot of people in the county are just exasperated watching it happen. It's mind-boggling. If I had $4 million in my pocket, I'll tell you right now, hand to God, I'd buy that land and just watch the grass grow. I'd put a park bench and an ashtray, and I'd welcome everybody I could to come and join me. I wouldn't do a damn
Accept your
thing.
donation.
If I had that $4 million. Unfortunately, I don't. And the truth is, neither do we as a commission, as a board. You guys just established 2 weeks ago your FY24 budget. This $4 million purchase wasn't in it. On top of that, you cut CRAs from a 75 to 65% reimbursement. You cut your FARBs, so you're not even financing the budgeting to go towards some of your fixed assets already. We don't have it. I mean, we don't have $4 million. We haven't even gotten our property tax bills in the mail yet, and all 162,000 residents of Martin County are going to have to dip into their pocket for another $25 extra on top of that bill to make $4 million happen. We're going to borrow against the general reserve. Now, 2 years ago, I came from this board asking you guys to reduce the amount of money going to general reserves so we can get our outstanding debt per resident under $900. And I got a fantastic answer. I didn't realize we were self-insured and that general reserves need to be utilized or kept on hand to make sure if we do have an issue, we can respond to that quickly. But now we're going to buy a $4 million plot of land off of general reserves. We slashed the budgets we're going to reimburse it with. We don't know what we're going to use it for yet, and it's inside the CRA, which is prime real estate, intended for development. I don't like seeing development, but that's its intention. Guys, this is a textbook example of irresponsible spending. I mean, we talk about the affordability crisis in the county. This is it. We are our own affordability crisis. We could talk about state and federal issues all we want, but the fact is it starts at home. We got to control our budget. This is the very first topic you're taking of an expenditure on your new fiscal year, and you're going to spend $4 million you didn't plan for. That is irresponsible, guys. We got to get serious about our financing, our funding. We can't wait until July and then cut each other's throats like we did 3 months ago. That's foolish. We got to start today. If we're going to get serious about getting our fiscal house in order, it's every day, every decision. And this is the first one. So let's see what we do.
Anybody else? Seeing none. Back to the board. Allow me to jump in, if you don't mind, since I was part of this process. With all due respect to our member of the public that just spoke, gave us two directions. He started with, I'm frustrated with all of the development and tired, and so is everyone else. This project that we're discussing on a 6-acre vacant piece of property, for the folks that are not familiar, is 90 apartments, 1, 2, and 3 bedroom apartments, with 123 parking spaces for 90 apartments. It is on the northwestern corner of Palm City School Avenue and Martin Highway. It is currently tree-lined. It's also adjacent to the east on Danforth Creek. It's in front of another neighborhood that uses their right-of-way on the 6 acres. So it's not genuinely 6 acres because there's a driveway easement that goes to the neighborhood in the back, and everything to the left of the driveway, if you were entering the neighborhood, is basically adjacent to or is Danforth Creek. Danforth Creek is an important exit flowway for all of Palm City Farms. Mr. Gordon led the initiative to have a multi-hundreds thousands of dollars study done to figure out drainage and flooding issues all through the farms. And what we found is it starts way in the western portion of Palm City and Palm City Farms. It impacts all of the residents through that area, through swales and ditches, comes across to Canopy Creek, goes under the turnpike to Martin Downs, where it then crosses over into Lighthouse Point before it enters into, and a lot of that through Danforth Creek. I think if the residents and the ones that have come, look, we could have filled the room up again, because I've had many calls from residents asking me, as a woman did this morning, what's happening with the project? And we sort of went into the quiet stage. My colleagues, and I appreciate them very much, because remember, I'm not the only one that represents Palm City in District 5. All 5 of us do. And 3 of my colleagues heard from their residents that this was something that they would prefer not to have. Those are the residents that were aware of this project. Some of them knew what it would look like, some of them don't. And all due respect to the architect and to the applicant and the developer, they came forward and gave us an opportunity to stop some of that development that people are tired of. Those are the folks that knew about it. I don't believe a majority of Palm City residents or Martin County residents are familiar with what was going to take place on that property. I didn't originally come up with this idea of purchasing it. The residents that I represent reached out to me, and there weren't just 150 that lived across the street, even though their opinions count. They lived directly across the street from the project, or the people that lived behind it. There was 15 different HOAs that were involved in a process of asking my colleagues and myself to do something about this, represent us. This project, once built, is forever. People are frustrated by some projects that they see being constructed or already constructed in Martin County. Some of them are City of Stewart approvals. There's one that I am also familiar and frustrated with, which is on US 1, 4 stories, multiple buildings, halfway towards, just north of Salerno. People are like, how do you allow this to happen? This is enough. Throw them out. And, don't you represent us? Well, we do. And this is an opportunity to have a project which, in my personal opinion, is not conducive with the look and feel of Palm City. I have approved and voted on many projects. Some people were happy, some people were angry. So I'm not anti-development. And some people said, well, you're supporting, you're always beating the drum for housing and affordable housing. This is housing and affordable housing. It's not officially affordable housing, but it's housing opportunities for people. Why would you stop this? Because I want to be clear. My opinion that we need more housing opportunities is not a blanket statement that we should put anything anywhere. We're here representing the public because that's what they wanted us to do. I've heard from many, many residents. I just recently spoke at Whispering Sound, and the first question they asked me is, what's happening with these apartments? I think that, and I'm very appreciative of the developer reaching out to our staff, and for Mr. Donaldson and Ms. Woods, who went and met, and then everyone said, well, he paid $2.1 million, and now you're paying $4 million. And, we heard a gentleman this morning say, well, if you go to the property appraiser's website, it's approximately $1.8 million. Well, a property appraiser's website is not market value. If that's the case, any one of us can just pick houses off of her website and offer them that price. They paid 2.1. They were well on their way to approvals before the LPA would have been to the LPA by now. It would have been coming to us either this month or soon for approval. And my colleagues know that it was a by right project, which means they were entitled to build it. And if we were to vote no for our own personal reasons or representing the residents without a true, strong legal reason for voting no, they could have potentially sued us. Now, some said, well, you're afraid of lawsuits. No, we're not. But I don't think any one of us would enter into a lawsuit that we basically knew we could not win. We have a legal department that was already advising us, you can't win that. So this option came up, and the funding, when you hear people say that everyone in Martin County will have to pay an additional fee on their taxes for that, not the case. MSTU funds are raised within the district. CRA fund, TIF funds are raised within the CRA boundary. If you live in Jensen or Hobe Sound or Stewart, you're not paying for this particular opportunity for the county to protect the residents of what they want. Look, obviously, there's going to be a difference of opinion, but I would tell you that the speakers that came and spoke against this, one of them, I'm surprised, he lives within walking distance of this project. We haven't even begun, and I know a lot of people discount this as not being a valid reason. 650 students will walk past this project every single day to go to Palm City Elementary School. They said, well, that's the sheriff's responsibility. You should put more crossing guards out there. Well, that's easy to say if you live somewhere else and your kids are not crossing on a bike or on foot to this neighborhood. This is a great opportunity for us to do exactly what the local residents want. Some people said it'll open up a Pandora's box and you'll have to do this everywhere in the county then. Not necessarily. These pieces, this opportunity fell into place. It's a reasonable price. It appraised, one appraisal came in at $4.5 million, the other at $4,050,000. That's not the website of the property appraiser. That's professionals. And then they say, well, you know, it's just a tree-lined empty field. No, it has the very real soon possibility to be 90 apartments on the sidewalk. Now, look, there's something to be said for the CRA rules, and Commissioner Hurd will say that they've been relaxed from our regular countywide rules. I don't think anyone at the time, when they put the CRA boundary all the way to Berry so that Stewart Fine Foods could be built there, that seemed like a very logical solution to a problem at the time 20 years ago, 15, 18 years ago. But there was an unintended consequence of changing the Main Street zoning concept of what Map Road, Bridge Road, Jensen Beach Boulevard, Osceola would truly look like a downtown Main Street. Martin Highway is not a downtown Main Street. And for the folks that figure, look, this is a Palm City issue that doesn't affect us if I live somewhere else in the county, it does. 90%, that's an exaggeration, a large percentage of people coming in and exiting Martin County come in on 95 in Palm City or the Turnpike in Palm City. They will drive down Martin Highway, and one of the first things they will see is a 3-story building, light blue in color, from Newberry Court all the way to Palm City School Avenue, right on the sidewalk. I don't think that is putting us, with all due respect to the design, because I know they had to work within a parameter. And if you're the developer and you can have 90 apartments instead of 80 apartments, and you're legally allowed to do that, you will. The 2 buildings are parallel to the sidewalk on Martin Highway. One is around the corner on Palm City School Road. You open your door, you step out onto your porch, you go down 3 steps, you're on the sidewalk of Martin Highway. Not a lot of room for buffering landscaping and trees and bushes. You're on the sidewalk. So one of the first things every resident and every visitor coming along Martin Highway into Palm City and into Martin County will see that, and they'll be like, is this the representation of what we think Martin County is? I don't believe so. And I hope today that my colleagues have seen emails of residents, either for or against, even though I have run into very, very few people that are opposed to this. Most people think this is exactly how the system should work. And what I would hope today is that at least 2 of my colleagues would represent the 26,000 people that live in Palm City and the rest of the county and support this decision. I want to thank the developer who's here, and I want to thank our staff, and I want to thank my colleagues who have supported this thus far. To me, today is a pivotal day in Martin County's history, especially in Palm City. It will be one of the most important decisions and initiatives that I will ever have taken part in, and I hope my colleagues feel the same way. Commissioner Hurd.
Yeah, this is precedent setting. There are proposals for incompatible, unpopular projects all over Martin County. River Light is experiencing criticisms, Barron's Landing. We will have proposals in Port Salerno that are going to be extremely unpopular with the neighbors there. Are we going to buy all of them? We can't afford to buy all of them. If you had money, Commissioner Campy, in your MSTU and in the TIF for the Palm City in the Palm City CRA, I could maybe support it, but you don't. And we have a policy that says that commissioners can't burden their successors with debt. And that's what the funding for this proposal proposes to do, is to burden for 5 years the commissioner from Palm City with the debt that you propose to incur today. If you had a purpose for the acquisition of the property, it would make a difference too, but you don't.
Well, you don't know that to be a fact. I'll share it with you in a moment. Please continue.
You commissioners created the regulations that permitted these incompatible developments. You relaxed the rules that protected that protects the neighborhoods in the CRAs. This can only happen in the CRAs. Only in the CRAs can you have incompatible dwelling units next to one another. Only in the CRAs can you put a 4-story or a 40-foot tall building, multifamily building next to a single-story home. Only in the CRAs can you opt out of open space requirements. Only in the CRAs can you pay in lieu of protecting uplands. You commissioners voted to relax those rules. I didn't. Now we have a terrible regulatory problem. I'm not going to be supporting this. I agree with the speaker. It's irresponsible and it's precedent setting, and we can't afford to buy our way out of incompatible developments that you have sanctioned by your approval of the changing of the rules in the CRAs.
Thank you. Commissioner Jenkins.
So I supported this the first time around with the understanding that we were going to be borrowing the money, and the money that was going to be borrowed to purchase the property were going to be paid back with the CRA and your district funds. Where now I'm got a lot of heartburn is taking money out of reserves to fund this. I can't see that I'm going to support that. If we're going to go get a mortgage, like everybody else, we're going to go get a mortgage. And the reason I supported that was because I agree, in part, with what Commissioner Hurd just said. It's our fault. It's our fault. So when Treasure Coast Regional Planning did the update on the CRA plan, at least in my CRA, in my area, they analyzed every parcel and tried to think through all of the potential unintended consequences. I don't know, again, I didn't analyze yours, I'm sorry, but somehow we've now allowed something that I agree with the residents that filled this room before. It's a project that is not good for the community. And so that's why I supported it. It's our fault. What I don't like is that we're taking potentially a multi-million-dollar tax-paying project off the slate. If you had a plan that you were going to put a small STA on it and we were going to do a RFQ for a housing project that met the community guidelines,
Stay tuned.
okay, that would be something that I could sink my teeth into and understand. If you're going to say, okay, we can't build 90 units, we can do X that enhances the community rather than detracts from the community, I'm all in.
Good.
Right? So, but again, taking money out of reserves is a non-starter for me.
Thank you. Commissioner Smith.
So for me, a place to start, I think for me to start in my thoughts about this. We spent close to 2 years, the Regional Planning Council spent close to 2 years working with the community, coming up with a master plan, a set of codes that met the community's interest. One of the difficulties in any kind of an infill project is its design, how it fits, how it works, and how it comes together. And I've had this conversation with our staff, and I think sometimes what happens with any given project is a project comes forward, it's conceived to what the project wants to build. It may or may not fit the standards that we created. And I wish what would happen in every case is that before the project comes off of a piece of paper, that it would come to our staff, we'd work with the Regional Planning Council, and we get a better understanding with the project owner and our staff as to what the community interests are and what the plan really wanted to see happen. And whether it's in the CRA or it's outside of the CRA, it's the same consistent problem. It doesn't really matter where the property is located. A project comes before. We had a speaker this morning talk to us about, she said, stop, enough, don't build anymore, don't do anymore. Well, that train left the station in 1982 and 84 when the state decided to have land use, and everybody got a land use and had an expectation of what their property was going to become. How you deal with it, what it looks like, I think that was the fatal flaw, if you will, of that concept back from the early 80s. What we've tried to do with the CRA, I believe, is lay out a set of standards and design concepts that'll benefit all of the interests. What happens, though, sometimes is a project gets ahead of itself and it designs something, and it's not. It may be consistent with the plan. It may not be consistent with the plan, but it takes on its own life, and it becomes what we have with us today. And then you have a project that out in Palm City that the community decided they didn't like, they didn't want. I absolutely reject the idea that we didn't do a good job in putting the plan together. The plan is a solid plan, and it's a good plan. The idea that 4 of us supported something and 1 didn't, that's why there's 5 of us up here. And we make those decisions every single day. Sometimes they're 5-0, sometimes they're 3-2, sometimes they're 4-1. And so we get to have different opinions on how we see that. But different, I think, than what occurred in the city over the last couple of years with the proliferation of the apartment buildings that did get built. This was a much more constructive process to help guide what would happen in the CRA versus letting what happened in the city happen. Now, is it perfect? It might not be. Would I encourage any project owner to work with our staff and work with the Regional Planning Council to come up with what fits and what's appropriate? Absolutely, I would. The model that I have always kind of had tucked in the back of my mind all these years is what West Palm Beach used to do years ago. Before a project ever saw the light of day, they came in and met with CRA staff and came up with a footprint, a design, and a general understanding for what that project could be and what it could look like. And from there, the project would go back out into the design world and make it try to fit that footprint. Again, is it perfect in every shape and form? No, it's not. But it's something that we still have a piece of this program missing for those that haven't used it before. I have no doubt that project could have been designed that would have met the desires of the community in Palm City. I still believe it could be. I don't know what Ed's plan is for the property. We haven't had that shared with us yet. whether it's stormwater, whether it's a park, whether it's something if we are to acquire it. I guess that's something the five of us will decide long-term. As towards the funding and Commissioner Jenkins' comments, my understanding was that we were going to set up a 0% interest loan through the county, and that the CRA and the district would repay those funds. And now I'm getting shaking of the heads no.
That's what the recommendation is. The alternate recommendation would be that you would use the general fund solely for the closing, so you could go ahead and purchase the property, and then we would bring back a bank loan for you to approve that would use the CRA and the district funds to pay it back. So one of them is a zero interest, but you don't refill the general fund reserves for 5 years. The other method is it has interest payments, but you could refill the general fund, well, as soon as we get the bank loan. So it would be within a few months for us to acquire the loan. So we would just use the general fund to float it till we get the loan. And that's the alternate recommendation.
So let me ask this so I understand completely. If we were to do an internal loan to ourselves from the general fund, from reserves, right? Over 5 years, that would get replenished, or 6 years, that would get replenished through, or could be replenished through the CRA and through the MSTU.
Yes, in fact, we worked it out pretty precisely on how that would work. It would be because the Palm City CRA already has some obligations. We have to rely on the district MSTU for years 1 and 2, and the CRA kicks in on years 2, 3, 4, and 5. So the district obligation could disappear after fiscal year 26. And then the CRA would be burdened with the entire payments in the last year. And that's all essentially a zero-interest interfund loan, but your general fund reserve would not be fully replenished for those 5 years. Again, the alternate recommendation is you would simply use the general fund as a means to go to closing to meet the obligations under the contract, and then we would refill the general fund with a loan, a bank loan, most likely, that would be have interest charges, and we would still use the same revenue sources to pay it back, which would be the MSTU. But it would take, you wouldn't be able to do it in 5 years. It would take 6 to 10 years based upon the revenues that we see.
So currently in reserves, we have, what, 15 million?
18 million.
18 million. Our reserve policy was 10% of our...
That's right, 10%, and that you would, and that any time you used it, that you would repay it within 5 years.
And in our CIP reserve, how much do we have in reserve?
There really isn't necessarily a reserve in the CIP, other than you have projects that you're saving up for. So there are funds in the CIP that aren't being spent next year, that are being saved up for a particular project.
I guess where I'm trying to get to, if we were to go the first route, and we use reserves to fund the project, and we replenish the reserves after 6 years or over 6 years. The idea of our reserves primarily is for a hurricane or for some significant disaster that we would have to deal with, right?
You have typically used them for an unintended consequence, which would be a natural disaster event when we draw it down for those. On occasion, you've used it for when the sheriff purchased his body cams. We drew from them to get the initial purchase, and then we would pay it back with the next budget year. So you have used it for typically things like that. And Jennifer could speak to other examples if you wanted to hear, but that's fine.
I'm just framing the idea that if we were to use this, and the concern would be that we would have consumed 4 million of our 18 million in reserves.
Yes.
That's a general concern, right? In the rest of the budget, there are millions of dollars held aside or set aside for to-be projects to be built or to be done. And there's contingency in every one of those projects that if we were to have a 12, 15, $16 million hurricane crisis, we could respond to that.
We're always going to respond to a hurricane disaster, and the tools available are your general fund, whatever you have in FARBs, and then you can always go and do bank loans, which has traditionally been done in other bigger
Generally
disasters.
speaking,
to
Francis
pay
and
for-
Jean was about a $12 million hit when we had two back-to-back hurricanes, from what I remember. Is that right?
Yeah, I think the overall cost was like 40 million, but the initial cash flow was, we were spending.
Was about 12. My point is, it doesn't, if that's, I'm not, I mean, the idea of going and getting a bank loan on this thing is not one that I am thinking is the direction to go. If we're going to do it, we do it internally with 0% interest, and it doesn't cost anybody any more than what the 4 million was in its purchase. That's just my thought process. And Harold, I listened to you, and I'm not sure 100% where your thought process was going. Stacy, I was watching your head shake yes or no. And so I'm trying to glean from our board where we want to go, but that's my thinking anyway, that we are covered one way or the other. That's it, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, sir. Let me fill in some of the blanks for some of my colleagues. I heard someone say that they could really sink their teeth into and endorse if they knew exactly what the plan was. When this originally came up, there was a lot of suggestions. A lot of people came forward, said it should be this, it should be that, it should be this. Quite a few people kept saying dog park, dog park, dog park. And then as the process sort of played out, we started to realize that, you know, and I heard from my colleagues and others that were critical of this concept that, you know, taking a piece of property off the tax rolls, turning it into a park that would then require additional maintenance costs, not necessarily the right strategy. So with that in mind, I did have an opportunity to speak privately with some of our staff to discuss what could happen there. Now, like many of you, I think the most appropriate strategy would be to have a community meeting, a charrette, if you will, in Palm City to discuss and hear from not, you know, the louder minority voices or the quiet majority voices. Let's hear what the public genuinely wants. But laying out, okay, if it's a park, you understand that you've taken this property off the tax roll. You understand that there'll be maintenance that goes along with it. Some people said preserve. Preserve is not nearly its highest and best use. Some people said it has no environmental benefit whatsoever. I would disagree. It is directly adjacent to Danforth Creek. Now, is it the Loxahatchee? No, but it does have that. Staff believed that it would also be an opportunity for us to have access to Danforth Creek on public property for the maintenance for the full length from the river all the way tucked back. So let's check that box. Public works access to Danforth Creek. I am not opposed. Two of my colleagues mentioned that maybe you could put something there that the community would embrace. History tells us that the original proposal for that property was approximately 40 townhomes. Susan Corris is here. She's the head of our CRA and our Office of Community Development, and Jordan Pistorius were more involved in the early portions of that project than I was. But I know that the developer reached out to the neighbors behind, and people were okay with the 40 sort of cul-de-sac of townhomes with front porches that met the CRA requirements. But the developer and their investors figured, not really ideally what we'd want to do, and then it morphed into 90 apartments. So I think, and I have spent a lot of time speaking to my constituents, our constituents in Palm City, about what could and could not happen there. And a lot of them, all along Martin Highway, realize it's going to be something. It's not, in a perfect world, it could be left alone to be exactly what it is, but it's going to be something. So to potentially ease my colleague, Commissioner Jenkins' concern, is I agree, he started to almost say what the potential vision could be. Maintaining, obviously, Newbury Court, everything to the west of Newbury Court, right into Danforth, stays as is. everything much closer to Martin Highway. I don't know if it's 50 feet, if it's 75 feet, if it's 100 feet of a re-landscaped buffer, and then behind it, really the meat and potatoes of what's left over on the property. I've had people reach out to me that are local doctors that say, I would purchase either an acre or more and building a professional medical plaza. Or I've used the example many times of Villa Flora, which is closer to the turnpike on the southern side of Martin Highway, next to the Tire and 7-Eleven, as a Spanish-style two-story. It's got professional offices in it. It's got financial consultants and lawyers and doctors, which then benefits everyone that lives in the community. Whereas if you're not renting an apartment, there's no benefit to an apartment complex across the street from where you live or in front of where you live. So I have no problem whatsoever committing today publicly that a large portion, 2.5, 3 acres of the 6, remembering some of the 6 is not really in play, to be developed to the desires of the community with, if need be, approval of the board. In terms of the loan, interfund loan versus bank loan, all of the dollars that are in that loan fund are tax dollars that have already been paid by taxpayers to be in that fund. Okay, we've heard from Mr. Donaldson and Ms. Manning that there's plenty of money in the fund. Even during catastrophic back-to-back hurricanes, we weren't in it, but that was a long time ago. The difference between those two funds, and I had agreed back then, because Commissioner Hetherington shook her head and so did Commissioner Jenkins, that the conversation was about a bank loan. And immediately following the agenda item, Ms. Manning came up to me, which is the reason I'm so sad that she's retiring. And she astutely said to me, bank loan is not the right strategy. You'll pay a fortune in interest. Who pays a fortune in interest? Not me, not Ed Campy, the taxpayers. So they're borrowing money from a bank so that the bank's investors and depositors will receive the profits of an interest rate versus borrowing the money internally. However, if that is a deal that is a deal breaker for 2 of my colleagues, I would rather go back to the residents and say we had to do a bank loan that we'll have to pay interest on than my colleagues did not agree with me and you, and they're going to be building 90 apartments. Very astutely, the developer never stopped developing his project. He did not freeze his project. He kept going potentially for a day like today, where my colleagues, 3 of which said yes to a full room. And now as we worked through, my biggest hurdle was the appraisals. If those appraisals came in at $3 million, I would have been in trouble. Because, fiscal responsibility would say you're doing something here. Now, I personally think that protecting the community forever from a project that everyone would shake their head and say, who approved that, versus these other financial things. But it didn't. They came in both above. And so I would hope that my colleagues would understand that as the district commissioner, knowing full well what the residents in my area are telling me, this purchase is the appropriate course of action. We will sell off a portion to be determined for another use that will keep a majority of the property on the tax roll. It'll have a public benefit, but we can protect it from being directly on the sidewalk. I don't know what Ms. Corus and her colleagues in community in the CRA would have to figure out to know in terms of what Commissioner Jenkins said about the Treasure Coast Regional Planning Council came in there and went through and determined what each parcel could and could not be. I would assume that they did the same thing in Palm City. But no one knew that it would go all the way to its capacity. And I don't blame the developer. If that was my property, are you going to build 50 apartments or 90 if you could build 90 legally allowed? And to my other colleague on the end, with all due respect, Commissioner Hurd, you constantly say, I was at your town hall meeting. It wasn't me. It was the 4 other commissioners. It was the 4 others. It was the 4 others. First off, some of us weren't here then. There were other commissioners, so I don't want my colleagues, Commissioner Hetherington and Jenkins, to have to eat some of that. Secondly, with all due respect, I don't know if I would use how things are happening in Port Salerno and your representation of all of the residents as an example on what the rest of us should be doing. I am strongly representing my residents, your residents, that have asked that this not happen. And I can read tea leaves. I have no expectation of where this could potentially go. I would hope that my colleagues would see, as I do for you all, that if it's a district project, if you want it to be a bank loan and we pay the interest on it, we'll pay the interest on it. I already raised my MSTU funds during our budget process to have a little additional money. A history lesson on the MSTU funds, it used to be a percentage of all the tax collected. There were times when some of my colleagues had $2 million in their MSTU funds, and we stopped that from happening. I could stand with a straight face in Palm City and tell my residents that we're going to make my MSTU dollars next year $1 million a year. They would respect that because they don't want this project to happen. And it's easy for people that live in, not you specifically, Commissioner Jenkins, but a woman from Hobe Sound who's been beating the drum that this is a terrible idea. I bet she wouldn't necessarily think it's a terrible idea if it was being built on the vacant property across the street from her home. This is easy for people to say, it's not my problem. And in terms of Riverlight and the Pandora's box, I've never had anyone reach out to me from Riverlight. The developers, I've heard about the project. I follow it in media and social media. If that's a legitimate project, every project should stand on its own. This project right here, right now in Palm City is not the appropriate project. And if my colleagues disagree, that's why there's 5 of us up here. But I will tell you, when this project comes out of the ground and people start setting their hair on fire, that how did this happen, I will clearly explain that I fought as hard as I could to stop it. And, well, you know, where did we borrow the money from? Or it sets a precedent, or it's somebody else's responsibility because they approved watered-down CRA rules. I will be very clear to explain that I fought as hard as I could on their behalf to stop it. Commissioner Smith.
Yeah, just one more added thing to your thoughts and comments about what it could or should become. If none of that happens and it were to become an STA or it were to become water quality, I'd be okay with that.
I appreciate that very much.
Look, we spend millions of dollars dealing with stormwater projects and large projects and small projects, and there's never enough. There will never be enough water quality in this county to solve all the problems of 100 years ago. And so if that's where it ends up and if that's where your community thinks it's best positioned to do so, I'm perfectly okay with that. If you come up with another idea, your community comes up with another idea, if we were to purchase it, I'm okay with that conversation happening.
I appreciate that. Today, what the residents of the area think or don't think is not my concern at the very moment. I need one other commissioner to agree.
Do you mind if I ask, Harold, I'm just trying to understand where you were on the purchasing analysis. Can you share with me again what you agree with, disagree with, so I can help if I need to make a motion? And I'm not trying to put you on the spot. I'm just trying to understand what you said. So I'm finding.
So I supported it as presented, that the people responsible for the encumbrance of this property are the CRA and the district commissioner. Where I have a problem with is people from Hope Sound paying the bill, okay? So that's why
So are you okay?
I've been, the part of my success, which I'm not going to apologize for, is always having adequate reserves for myself personally and for my business, for numerous reasons. That's just good business. Taking money out of reserves is not something I'm interested in.
So how
Now, taking money out of reserves as a bridge loan for a specific, very short period of time to get into a mortgage like the rest of us would have to do, I think I can choke down. But no.
So, so I'm clear, so you.
I'm okay with that.
You're okay with doing.
Let me
the
keep
work.
going, though. I'm not okay with taking this valuable piece of developable property, developed correctly, off the tax rolls. So if part of a motion was made that said, and it could be vague, we don't know whether it's 2.5 acres, 3.5 acres, we don't know what it is, but that the goal and objective of this move from this commission is to put a portion of this property back on the tax rolls through community meetings and workshops and whatever else that resulted in a RFQ or ST, whatever we call that, I'm good. I get it. And people need to understand that, yes, I agree with Commissioner Hurt. This is a unintended consequence of what our CRA codes allow. Should it have been caught earlier when we redid this, that? I have no idea. I wasn't involved in that process. Is it just from when the CRAs were started in the year 2000? I don't even know that. So, but I understand why we need to do what we need to do.
Okay, so can I try a motion and you tell me if I'm off base?
Sure.
Mr. Jenkins?
Commissioner Smith, I would commit to 50% of the property being up for development.
I don't think we ought to,
I'm just saying,
let's
up
just-
to 50%.
just hearing from Harold, let me try this, and if you agree, disagree. So, Mr. Donaldson, I would move that we acquire the property, we use our interfund loan program as a bridge to a mortgage or to a loan, to a bank loan, that is repaid by the district MSTU funds and the CRA funds that have been discussed for the period of time that is required to pay off that bank loan. And that the district commissioner work with the community as a whole, whether it's just Palm City or others, to craft a vision for the property that is appropriate as deemed with the commissioner and the community. And I'm not going to add a percentage if it's 20% or 60% or 85. That's up to them to determine some portion of the property to come back perhaps as a in another form, in another shape.
I think that's perfect. I will second that.
Thank you. Commissioner Heatherington.
So I was going to keep fairly quiet, but what happens if that comes back? I mean, we're paying
4 million.
4 million plus all sellers' expenses, and, by all accounts, it's worth more than probably what the property appraiser has it, but I don't believe it's worth the 4 million. I mean, even in one of these appraisals, there's entrepreneurial profit, and we're paying, permitting fees of the seller. So when we put this out, just say for an RFQ or some kind of development to put it back on the tax rolls, it will not probably pencil out as far as we're not going to be whole.
We get that. But at the same time, this condition, we can take the blame for allowing a condition that created this, right? That cost money, right? To Doug's point, if it sounds like that we could actually do a meaningful, maybe small, couple acre, 3 acre STA or water improvement, that has value, right? So we know I know in my heart that we're not going to be whole. No, I get it.
How do we assure then that something will transpire? I mean, I heard you say the vision, the community vision. Well, but I heard Commissioner Jenkins say, I want something to be developed, I want something that is somewhat adequate to the highest and best use on this property
That the
to regenerate tax dollars. And I didn't hear in your motion that really, that's not at least the way I interpreted it.
Maybe a polish is in order.
I would hope that the district commissioner, Ed, listened very carefully to everything all of us have said. I assume the public will listen to everything we have to say, that there is an expectation that something will come back to us for some kind of approval, decision, recommendation, whatever to do. To Harold's comment on the value of whether it is an STA or whether it's 2 units or a medical office or something else, right? You could make that same argument that East Fork Creek that we're building on US 1 right now is 20 acres, 30 acres down there. If that were all developed out as apartment buildings, it's a heck of a lot more value than in real estate value. But the value to our community, the value to that neighborhood that has had traditional flooding problems and other related related issues is significantly more in value, in intrinsic value to this community than ever would have been if that had been developed into apartment buildings for real estate value. And that may be a hard thing for any of us to ever get our heads wrapped around, but I said earlier in my comments that the millions of dollars we spend to clean up water in this county, I know the value of it. What's his name this morning?
Mark Perry.
Mark Perry was in here praising the county on all the work we're doing. Keep on going, keep on doing. There's never enough. He's right. There's never enough. It's never good enough. It's always more. And so, look, I'm honest. I mean, I would love to see something come back to go on the tax roll, as everybody would. But if it doesn't, and if someone came back and said the highest and best use for that for Martin County is a 4-acre stormwater treatment pond, and here's how many millions of dollars worth of cleanup it'll provide the county, that's a hard thing to say no to. As East Fork Creek, and it's spectacular what's out there. Guys, whether it was you or not, but I mean,
It was.
him,
That guy.
George. I hope the motion is direction to Ed, and not to Ed, but with Ed, to go out and find a better solution for the property.
That's the goal.
And whatever that solution comes back, then that'll be up to the 5 of us again, as we talked this morning on another issue, to decide whether we like that, with the fairgrounds, or we didn't like the fairgrounds, whatever it comes back as. And I see this the same way.
Thank you. Mr. Donaldson.
I just wanted to make a statement and see if you understand or confer. And that is, the purpose of this is, this acquisition is for a public purpose, of which you all have stated in the past has had a variety of uses, but stormwater is one that we specifically had identified. And after you've determined the use of that public purpose, the portion that is not necessary, you're contemplating putting back on the tax roll. So I just want to make sure that we are buying this for a public purpose, and that for the public record, and that the unused portion has the potential to be put back on the tax roll.
Hopefully my motion encapsulated that.
Yes. Yeah.
Did it not?
Yes.
It did.
No, I just want to hear Don confirm. As he was confirming with us, I'm confirming with him.
I think the attorney's office is comfortable with the.
He's not squirming too much over there?
Yes. Thank you.
Sarah may be rolling over wherever she is, but
No, thank you. Yes, we just wanted that clarified, so.
thank you.
I appreciate that. To Commissioner Smith's point, that property that he's mentioning is on US 1. Very valuable piece of property. But when we hear from our residents, either in these meetings or elsewhere, that they're getting frustrated with the level of development, well, that means there's only a couple of things you can do to throttle back some of that development. Some of it is purchasing property that can stay in the county's hands for a multitude of reasons. This is a prime, this is a prime piece of property for Palm City, so any consideration from my colleagues is greatly appreciated. And with that, I dare to say I would entertain a motion. Oh, we have a motion.
got
and we-
it.
all right,
Second.
so
So far,
I'm in the twilight zone. We have a motion by Commissioner Smith, seconded by Commissioner Jenkins. All those in,
I just wanted to clarify the motion. Did it include getting a bank loan?
Yes.
And then RFQ for this to come back?
So let me explain as I understand what staff's direction is to do is that we will use the interfund loan, which will be using general fund to close the purchase agreement. We would bring back to you a loan transaction that would bank loan most likely to refill the interfund loan. With the payment being from the MSTU and the CRA as additionally specified. And then we are to have some planning with the district on the public purpose of the project. And then coincident with that, with any piece that's left over, we'd be looking to develop, to seek out projects that would be appropriate, yes.
General funds.
clear?
Clear.
We have a motion by Commissioner Smith, seconded by Commissioner Jenkins. All those in favor? Aye. All those opposed?
Opposed?
The motion carries 3-2 with Commissioner Heatherington and Hurd dissenting. Thank you. Let's take our lunch break, and we will